This is What It Feels Like podcast, a safe space for women and men to share our stories and find solutions together. Welcome to What It Feels Like podcast. If it's your first time tuning in, welcome. It's so good to have you here. This is a community both online and in the real world for all of us who are interested and focused on creating a safer, freer, and healthier world for self-expression, sustainable living, sexuality, and living fully empowered, juicy, sovereign lives. We dive into topics around relationships, the Me Too movement, and what's the next step in our personal and collective healing. We talk moon cycles, money, and just getting real with each other all around. If you want to connect beyond this podcast, please head over to the Facebook group, What It Feels Like Community, and you can follow me at Lily Claire Love. Send me a message there. I'll do my bestest to get back to you all. I love your questions. Your participation in these conversations are important. We're in this together. Thank you for being here. I'm so excited to introduce Joshua Hathaway. Joshua is a transformational trickster, a trainer, and a coach. He is the founder of No Bullshit Communication and the co-founder of the Brotherhood Community. He's a father, and he's committed to creating a more beautiful, equitable, and thriving world. And whether you join him on a webinar, attend a workshop, get one-on-one or couples support, or you hire him to speak at your organization, Joshua will masterfully and lovingly dismantle the bullshit that is getting in the way of your most exquisite life and relationships. Welcome.
Hello. What a pleasure to be here with you, Lily.
You too.
Thank you.
I always feel myself kind of drop in when I'm in your presence.
I'm so glad.
So there's so much that I know that we want to talk about, and we talk about when we're hanging out. And a big topic for us, we'll just, I guess, go right in there, is consent.
Fuck. Yeah.
So, consent, boundaries, desires. Where do we even start with that?
Oh my God. Well, I would like to start by sharing a story. Can I share a little story with you about that? So,
yeah.
I recently had the privilege of hosting another gender alchemy salon in which we had a women's circle that was held in a fishbowl that was surrounded by men and women who were witnessing. And I came into that fishbowl circle as part of a safe ported, like everybody knew it was going to happen, but I walked in embodying the fucking toxic patriarchy and like saying all of the messages right to these women's faces that patriarchy has been speaking to women for their whole lives, quietly and loudly. And then I sat down and just embodied that so that they could have say whatever they needed to say back to me. And it was such a powerful experience. It was such a powerful conversation to see each of these women embody a different aspect of the feminine as it responds to this intensity. And I just sat in my sort of sacred masculine space, deeply listening and acknowledging and honoring what was being said to me. One of the things that was said to me really stuck with me, and it just affirmed what I've been so deeply feeling as I've really dove into this like wild dynamics between masculine and feminine, between men and women. A woman looked at me and she said, "You have no idea what a heaven on earth this place would be if the women trusted you." You have no idea of the untold pleasures and wonders that this world would hold if women were trusting the men. And it just rings so true for me in that experience. So true. And the sort of core of that is consent and boundaries and desire, is how to hold all of those in a really authentic, really conscious way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Phew. Yeah, the women trusting men and the men realizing, and the women realizing, but the men realizing if they could show up as a safe space for women, and if women could show up and trust men that they are a safe space. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Heaven
It
on
just
earth.
so exponentially good. It's so good. And I think most people literally can't imagine how good it is.
No.
And I've been in a few spaces where that has been sort of like turned on, and people's nervous systems are operating at that level on a collective, like unspoken level of deep trust. And holy fuck, like it's a whole different state of being for everybody in the space, for men and women. When the men are trusting the men, and the women are trusting the women, and then the men and the women are trusting each other.
Yeah.
To be able to hold and be present with whatever desire shows up, and to be in deep respect for one another's sovereignty and for one another's choice, and for all of the relationships that are sort of present in the space.
Yeah. It feels like grounded bliss.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that I really want men to understand, and I just and I've really just been embodying this in a way, by whatever grace, by whatever like blood, sweat, and tears, or whatever it has been that's made it possible for me to experience this. But I have been embodying this in a way that has taken a theory to a whole nother level of reality, of realization, of like embodied reality for me, which is that when you as a man come like hungry, and come needing something, come with a even just like the subtlest energetic demand that a woman do something to take care of you. Any level of demand that you bring, the woman who receives that demand is going to become a default no to things that she probably actually wants. Like the moment that demand energy, that sense of like it's your responsibility or your job, even at like the subtlest level, like women are so attuned to that. Their nervous systems are so sensitive to that. They become a default no, and they have to defend themselves against that. But when a man comes with total respect for the sovereignty of a woman, he doesn't have to dim any of his desire, not any of it. But when that desire is held inside of a man as this beautiful sovereign thing, and that it's an invitation and an act of self-expression and transparency and honesty, this is what I want, without any sense of like, you owe me anything. It's a completely different game.
Yeah.
It's a completely different interaction.
Yeah. And that takes work and awareness on both sides, because the man obviously has to feel sovereign and whole in himself without getting his desire. And for me as a woman, I know that it's been an experience that I've had, and so it's become like something that I expect, and that is just a response when it's not actually always the case. So a man has desire for me, and I automatically feel that as a demand. I automatically feel like I owe him something, that he's trying to take something from me, that I'm obligated in some way. And I've had to like consciously and continue to consciously breathe into that and check, like, okay, is this mine or is this his? Is this my conditioning and programming and projection, or is this his, or is there a combination? And even when there is that present for him, I still have my part, that instead of just having to shut down and project or blame or whatever wants to come out, to breathe into that, because really it's fear that's in there, and it's up to me to take care of that on my part, and then to be able to actually communicate, if I know that that's a safe man for me to communicate that with, to communicate, hey, this is what I'm feeling. I'm wondering if that's in you as well.
Yes. Yes, to not only be able to have the level of self-awareness to notice all of these contractions, the tightening, where you want to be soft, where you want to live soft, you want to live open, you want to live like present in a yes, right?
Yeah.
And yet, like, there's a automatic contraction, like, am I safe in the presence of this man's desire?
Mm-hmm.
And then to be able to communicate that,
Mm-hmm.
right? And for a man to not hear that as a rejection, to not hear that as like, you're less than, there's something wrong with you, you're not enough to get me to be turned on right now, or whatever the messages are, the internalized messages are, right? To be present in this process right now, to not be sort of goal oriented, to like, I just want to get laid, or I just want to get that, I just want to have whatever I'm fantasizing about happen, to let that go and be with the experience of desire, to be with what's coming back, and to hold it with such curiosity and presence and care.
Yeah.
Like, of course you're feeling that way.
Yeah.
Assume that a woman in this world right now is going to have that response to fear. If you're not, to that response to desire, if you're not assuming that, then you're not paying attention, dude. I'm sorry. Assume that. Be delightfully surprised in the absence of it.
Can you say, don't take it personally, can you say that bit like one more time? Don't assume.
Yeah. So just assume that a woman is going to have a reflexive sense of unsafety in the presence of a man's desire in this world. Assume that, and be delightfully surprised if she doesn't.
Yeah.
And if she does, then be delightful in your welcoming of it, in the safety of your nervous system around it, that you're not having to fight it, to make it wrong, to prove that I'm not an unsafe. What do you mean I'm not a safe man? Like, oh God, dude, like, it's not about you.
Yeah.
It's so not about you. This is what we're here to work out. This is what we're here collectively to come up to together and find a path together through, So it's so easy. Our egos can be so fragile, and our attachment to sort of specific goals and outcomes can be so habitual. But when I get to slow down and take in a woman right where she's at, and not only, so like, here's the other thing, is I think men are trained to be boundary testers, like test the boundary. Where can I get in the boundary? Where's the boundary? Like, test the boundary. And if I, as a man, can set a boundary that's even bigger than a woman would set for herself, then I'm actually creating like a sense of safety in the interaction that that is really powerful, number one. And like, in all honesty, is much more likely to get me what I ultimately probably really want in a more integral, like, paced way, that it just feels good to everybody all the way around, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because when a woman feels safe and honored and seen and given that space, that's like when she opens up. That's when she opens and blossoms, and actually her desire is allowed to come forward, then has space to come forward in this kind of like unconditional container. Yeah, and I've experienced that, it was kind of like around the height of the Me Too movement, the end of 2017, where I made a post about this kind of predator wound in men. And I guess I said like all men carry this predator wound, and one guy friend got really offended, and he definitely is like, kind of has like a nice guy, good guy identity, and was, really like really defending it, like not all men have this predator wound. And it kind of like it activated me more to, it kind of activated that rage, that feminine kind of rage and wounding, that just wanted to be heard, but also wanted men to understand that it doesn't matter if you're a good guy. We are literally walking around like with this like who's safe, having to protect myself kind of awareness laser constantly.
Mm-hmm.
So you do carry that, you do carry that wound, and it's not that you are a predator, it's that is a wounding in the masculine that has been, has been bought and lied to and infiltrated. It's not actually part of who you are. It's been a program that, it has been infiltrated into your psyches and your beingness, that you didn't deserve to have and to carry and to take on.
And it's actually just a beautiful impulse that's been just bastardized. I have no shame about being a fucking predator.
Right.
I'm a fucking hunter. I
Yes.
love that. I love to fucking hunt prey and catch it and devour it. Mm-hmm. And I am unapologetic about that.
But it's the shame, right? Is it the shame piece? Because then calling that bad, saying that you're bad for that. That's, I think, from where the indoctrination is.
Well, and it's about consent. Again, like, it's about consent. Mm-hmm. And there's been a lot of really, really heinous things done in the name of hunting or predatory behavior that has not been consensual and has not been respectful of the sovereignty of the prey. Like, there is such a thing as sacred prey. Yeah. Thank you, Om Rupani, for like coining this phrase into my life. Like, there is the sacred prey, like sacred predator element to this. There is something so natural about this. It's just, life would not exist without this sacred relationship. It's beautiful. But if I can't bring my conscious self to that, if I have to perform unconscious acts, if I'm ashamed of it, if I make it wrong, or if I have to do it outside of the boundaries of genuine consent and fair play and radical respect and honesty, then that causes harm and damage and suffering in the world. And there's been so much of that. And so this impulse, which I think is beautiful and powerful, and I cherish and have struggled in my life as a feminist since I was an adult, to own and claim. That's the nice guy. The nice guy can't fucking own and claim it, and so he passive aggressively predates women by trying to be really nice and give them everything they need, and then losing his shit when he doesn't get what he wants. Like,
oh yeah, I experienced that too.
yeah, what do you mean? I've been so nice. I've been so good to you. I've given you everything that a woman says she wants. Why aren't you fucking me? Like, right? Like, it's so gross. Oh. Like when a predator just fucking lays it out there, it's way more trustworthy than some like shit.
Yeah, I prefer that.
Like, by the way, I fucking want you. Right? Like,
yeah.
And I mean, it's okay if I don't get what I want. Like, but you know what? And here's the other thing. Just in saying that, just in the act of saying that, like, I affirm the intrinsic beauty of my desire. We've been trained that like the desire, that our turn on is just like a preamble to an orgasm at some point along the way, right? Or we've been trained that like it's just like everything is foreplay until you come, or something like that. But like, I think if most people are honest with themselves, some of the most exquisitely pleasurable aspects of any sort of energetic sexual exchange are like the subtle play, the like the milking of desire, the unsatisfiedness of longing, the hunger that grows when we can play that nice, slow, rich game. So just learning to claim my desire as something beautiful in itself, and to take pleasure in the sensations in my body when desire arises, that's game changing. Game changing. And it makes me a safer man, because I'm no longer propelled by this impulse. I am a connoisseur of the very sensations of the impulse in my own body.
Your words just keep speaking. Yeah, so many
and
things.
I have a sense that it's really yummy to be on the other side of that.
Oh yeah, it's yummy. So many things came up as you were talking. Yeah, I experienced because that like drawing out the pleasure and actually finding like so much juice and pleasure and enoughness, fullness in the desire, in it, just like the energy being between you. We live in such like a fast food, quick fix society, right? That we, so many people have just kind of like don't even really get that concept. I think don't get that as an experience. Don't get how that could be pleasurable, so they're just like going for it. I was assisting my teacher a couple of years ago at an event at the Playboy Mansion, a tantra event, but the event was like this kind of like techie businessman event, like drunk guys in suits. And then we brought in this like tantra kind of lounge, and I was eye gazing with my partner at the time, as kind of like a demonstration. And there was just like there was one woman that was eye gazing with men, like they were coming up and eye gazing, and then there was just like a lot of men standing around watching. And so they asked me if I would step in an eye gaze with some of these men as well, not with my partner. And they all were kind of like drunk and oogly eyed and like, hey like, go get it kind of thing. And I sat the guy down and I straddled him in my short dress and sat on his lap, and I looked him in the eyes and I said, so we're going to meditate together, and we're going to have our eyes open, and we're just going to look at each other in the eyes like we are right now. And we're going to take a deep breath in together. And we're going to exhale together. And we're going to take another breath. And we kept doing this and breathing. And I literally witnessed their whole being shift, and them see and feel and experience and tap into something that they had never felt before. Beingness, love, presence. And then we would break apart and they would just be like, what happened? Like, what was that? And it was a complete transformation from when they came in and when they left. Mm-hmm. So that's what's possible, that so many don't know is there, and is like, it's like better than the sex, it's better than like just getting off.
Yeah.
It's so deeply nourishing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then these men would actually like verbally kind of like vomit on me of like, I have sex with all these women, but I don't actually enjoy it. And, my wife is like so beautiful, but I just don't desire her. And yeah, so I was like, oh my gosh, wow.
You open those floodgates of a man, and most men have no idea how to get there themselves. And many men will only give themselves permission to get there in the presence of a woman. There's something very core about the nurturing presence of a woman. And what I found as a really fundamental principle in my work with men is you need to fucking go there with men. That men need to actually have really nurturing, loving, safe relationships with men in order to be the safest men that they can be for the women in their lives. And that so many men are like overusing the female presence in their life to get nurtured and to get mamaed and to get counseled and to get fucked and to get fed. And like, it's like they're just the Uber strategy for all of these things that you'll never have a really like sustainable, loving, sexy relationship with somebody who has to be all those things for you. And one of the things, it was beautiful. I run these men's retreats. We have one coming up the 7th to the 10th in Santa Cruz of September, just a couple weekends from the time that we're recording this. And we always do an integration day. We take the men out to an ecstatic dance, and we just show up as like a cadre of just like busted open, heart alive men. And like every single time we show up, like all of the women in the room are just like, like you can feel them all just like drop a whole like several layers deeper into their own like safety and playfulness, and like, and they like come up and they're like, thank you so much for being here. Like you changed this whole space with your presence. Right. And then we also do a day at a local spa, just like a clothing optional space where we all just hang out and sit in a hot tub and just sun ourselves in the grass in this community space. And a woman showed up at our last integration day at the Kiva retreat. And she wrote me this beautiful message later and was just like, you have no idea how beautiful that was for me to be around your men. Like to get this high dose of masculine energy without like having to bear the burden of needing to like defray their hunger constantly. Like you brought me men who were alive and not hungry, and I just needed that so much. Right. And when a man can show up for a woman like that, like then you let her be the hungry one. Guess what? The polarity shifts, and she can contact her hunger and her desire in a way that's that will literally make heaven on earth the more we do this. I promise.
Yeah. How do Yeah, what are some ways that men can kind of practically um, start to feed that hunger inside of them, or deal with the desire that they feel that may not be being received or place to put it.
Yeah. Well, number one, I think being in a men's group and finding intimate spaces to connect with other men,
Yeah.
to have emotional contact with other men where you're vulnerable and honest and real and being loved and supported and held accountable. It's a really powerful thing.
And
And
I
I've
know
seen it,
very vulnerable for men
and
to
incredibly
reach
honest.
out and say, I'm going to
Yeah.
be in a men's group.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that men are really bad at reaching out for support for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
And so what you do when you actually proactively set yourself up in a men's group is now you have a space to talk about that shit. Well, every 2 weeks or every week or even once a month, like it's scheduled. You don't have to take that extra step of reaching out. Not that I don't highly encourage men to learn how to ask for help, because it's out there. Like as much as you can ask for is out there, just waiting to offer itself to you when you're willing to ask. But one of the things is definitely get connected to a men's group. Come to, get yourself cracked open in a big men's weekend, like the things that we do. We do a really intimate weekend with, a 12-man tap, so that we really are close. Every man knows every other man and pretty much will know him the rest of his life after that weekend. Um, I think that there's also a lot of really beautiful coaches and women in the world who are working with men who are able to hold you in your desire, in what it is, in everything that you can bring to that relationship, and really support you to have the tools to be present with all of that, and
Mm-hmm.
can be a nurturing presence to you in your pain and in your longing. And having a woman who the relationship is super clean, like you're my coach or you're my counselor or you're my dakini or whatever it is, and we have this very clean relationship where the exchange is clear, can be also a really healthy way to be having an outlet for some of these energies, and learning and having the feedback of a woman to be present with that and really get honest feedback from her about how you're showing up. So that, the many women who don't feel capable or well resourced enough to give you honest feedback when you're showing up hungry and kind of creepy in their experience, are not your sort of litmus for how good you're being in a certain way. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
a little lost there.
completely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I microcosmic orbit practice is also just a huge practice. And like learn how to attend to and circulate that energy in your body.
Yeah.
Learn how to take that rich, delicious boner energy that you have and circulate it up into your heart. Like bring it up. Like you don't have to stop being turned on, but learn how to channel that up into your heart. Oh, and then it takes on a dimensionality. Learn to channel it up into your sort of crown, and just like be this expansive awareness of the delicious, sensuous nature of your existence. Without having to like focus it on this person doing this action at this time in order for it to be okay.
Yes. Yes. So still on consent. I guess consent and communication. I know. Is there a way that we can do a demonstration, or we could give an example?
Yeah. We could totally give an example. Yeah.
Do you want to give it?
Sure. Yeah. I remember when we first started connecting, we were sending messages back and forth, and I was really both enjoying connecting with you and really curious about what you were doing, and we had all these exciting kind of collaborative ideas going. And I mean, you're you, and I was just like, oh my God, this woman is so hot. And
Stop.
and so I think I sent some kind of flirty like sticker
Yeah.
or
Like a
gift or
flirty
something
gif
like
or
that.
something, yeah.
Yeah. And you were just like, I just want to. You're like, I just want to be clear. Like I'm in a space of like celibacy right now, and so I'm not really like I'm not really entertaining like sexual advances or anything like that.
Yeah,
And
and
then I was like, yeah, go.
oh, sorry, I was gonna say, yeah, and we were gonna do a Facebook Live together, I think. And so yeah, I said I just want to check in what your intentions are. Yeah.
And I think I was pretty clear, like, yeah, I'm totally attracted to you, and I'm also like have a lot of respect for wherever you are. And I think what I said was, at first I was like, will you let me know if anything that I say crosses a line? Like, I didn't
Mm-hmm.
know where your line was. It wasn't clear.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think you were like, yeah. And then I thought about that and I'm like, that's not good enough. Like, and I was like, I'm going to treat you as though you are in an energetic celibacy. And I'm going to withhold, I'm just going to like keep all of any like sexually oriented comments or pictures or anything like out of your field. And I just like, I think I forget how I express it, but I'm just like, I just want to hold a really wide boundary around you and what you are needing for yourself right now, so that you don't have to keep establishing a boundary.
Yeah. I love you. I love that you were like, that is not good enough. Yeah, and I mean, transparently, I was clear, but probably didn't communicate it as clearly in up front in saying like it's an energetic boundary as well, because I had desired you also, and I was still in the process of my like really like rooting into celibacy, um, which is an ongoing journey. And, um, but I remember you then like coming back and checking in again and asking me, is this an energetic boundary or an energetic celibacy as well? And I was like, yes it is. Thank you for asking and helping me to be clearer with myself and clearer with you.
Such a pleasure. And it felt so good to
Yeah.
just like to give you that space.
Yeah, it felt so good to be given that space, and again, we said it kind of opened up my my desire for you more,
Mm.
and just knowing that you were honoring where I was at and what I needed. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was just, there was, for me as a man, there was such an integrity. Like, I was like, the integrity that I felt in my own sort of nervous system and energetics of just like holding that boundary, um, was just exquisite. It felt so good. And it didn't mean that I didn't get to be turned on. It didn't mean that I wasn't totally attracted to you. It didn't mean that like I didn't get to even fantasize about having more of a connection with you at some
Mm-hmm.
point. It just meant that like I didn't put any of that on you. I didn't like poke at that in any way toward you, and I didn't try to elicit anything from you around that,
Yeah.
because you'd set that boundary and I honored it.
Yeah. Thank you. So what do men need from us? What do men need from women to help men be a safe space?
Yeah. we need your fucking honesty. We need your feedback.
Mm-hmm.
We need you to name, in the least sort of judgmental, the least sort of accusatory way, like how you feel in our presence and what you want more of and what you want less of.
Mm.
Like we need that level of like you claiming your sovereignty and telling us about your experience, not about me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need you to say like you're being a fucking creep right now.
Mm-hmm.
I need you to say like I feel really uncomfortable around
Mm-hmm.
you right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you know, put your hand on my leg without asking, and then I move my leg and you put it back, like that felt like a real breach of respect and consideration and care for me.
Mm-hmm.
Can you ask me before you touch me? Like we need the women, and that's fucking edgy to imagine saying, right? Like for many women, that's super edgy.
Yeah.
And we're not going to get there by having good intentions. We're going to get there by making sloppy mistakes.
Yeah.
And by putting ourselves in spaces where we can practice.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know as a woman, I mean, it's something that I have had to and continue to work so deeply on, because there's such a fear of saying no to a man. And obviously there's, you know, the real and old kind of embedded fear of saying no and him not receiving that and it getting scary in some way. But it's interesting, having done so much work and practice around it. You know, I'm just wondering, does it still come up just because it is such an old thing, and it's something that we're collectively all working through, or, you know, what are the other pieces to that? I mean, it just feels like I have such an obligation to take care of a man.
Yeah. And such a sort of like cultural invective that your voice doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
Like I can't imagine all the gates that a woman has to go through to open her mouth and speak the truth in this world.
Yeah. Yeah, because all of those times that we did open our mouth and it was not heard and it was bulldozed over. And so I know for women, we are quiet and we, you know, open our legs because, you know, there's a real fear that, you know, it's easier to just kind of go through with it than reap some kind of other repercussions. And I mean, I've found, like, you know, I had an experience earlier this year, kind of around when we started talking more, with a man who I had been intimate with maybe 6 months earlier, and then told him I was celibate, and he invited me to come and share a retreat at his space in the Middle East, and he took it pretty personally and felt really rejected, you know, um, along the way of me holding that boundary and communicating when he would, you know, touch my body in a way, and I said I felt uncomfortable, and I knew he was a safe man in terms of he would never be violent, he would never hurt me in that way, he would never rape me, but just him, he shut down his heart, like just him kind of like shutting down the love, the, you know, the friendship connection was so painful and triggering for me. So there's that level too of just like, oh, but I thought you were my friend, I thought you were my ally, I thought you were my brother, I thought that I could show up however I am and be held and accepted in that.
It's
And
violent.
sorry.
No, yeah, I'm sorry to cut you off. It's
No,
just a
say that
subtle,
again. A subtle violence.
yeah, to shut down, to emotionally cut off, you know. And it's not necessarily intended to be directed out. It's just, you know, it might just be that I'm shut down. Like, I'm deeply, profoundly disappointed, and I don't know how to express that. I don't know how to just grieve with you. I don't know how to humble myself before you and say, like, I'm fucking sad. Like, I miss that contact that we had, and I miss that like level of intimacy that I so enjoyed with you, and it's painful for me to not have that with you, and I want to be known for that. I don't want to shut down. I don't want to just like block myself off, you know.
Yeah, and for women and men to be able to stay in that place together, what healing could come, you know, for me to be able to stay in that place of a man humbling himself and expressing his sadness of not having that connection anymore, and for me to just stay with that, with his sadness in empathy, and not take it on and not try to change it and not try to, you know, and not feel bad about it. Yeah.
Not collapse your own boundary in the presence of it, you know, just to keep the peace, right?
Yeah. Wow. Heaven on earth. We can create.
Yes, just by building trust, just by really, like, we talk a lot in the nonviolent communication community that I'm a part of for almost 20 years now about these different needs. Some people debate about whether whether respect is a need, and I do believe that respect is a need. And I define respect as a very particular kind of relationship with the sovereignty of us. Like, respect is about acknowledging the sovereignty and independence of another being, that they are truly their own being. And when we're able to deeply respect people, like cultivating deep respect for other beings' sovereignty is a lifelong journey, honestly. As we might think that we respect it, it means not projecting onto them even our sort of ideas of who they are, who they should be, but maintaining a level of curiosity at all times, right? Openness to them being exactly who they are in any given moment and wanting what they want. And that's the other sort of the other side of that coin for women is that, like, consent is not about like, you're never going to stop men from having desire, right? I think it would just be a fucking horrific puritanical project to try to, like, rid us of desire, right? It's not about getting rid of desire. It's about bringing respect, and it's about welcoming desire. Oh, you over there, sovereign being, are experiencing a desire, and it's aimed at me. How delicious. Like, how fun for you. You know, like, that's great for you. You know,
Yeah.
like,
Enjoy that.
yeah. I hope that that's really pleasurable for you.
Yeah.
Like, cool. And like, literally, like, let go of any sense of obligation around it at all. You don't have to defend yourself from it. Like, there's nothing to defend, and you don't have to sort of capitulate to it. It's their experience.
Yeah, play parties in the polyamorous community, and even just like ecstatic dance, are some beautiful areas to experiment and experience respect and boundaries and consent, and you know, speaking your truth. Yeah, I remember going to my first play party 2013, and being so nervous. I had terrible boundaries, and and being so nervous, and I was like to my boyfriend, I was like, but well, what if I want to dance with a guy, but I don't want to kiss him? Or what if I want to kiss a guy, but I don't want to do anything else? Or, all these different levels of it. And he said, well, when you don't want to engage anymore, even if it's just a conversation, you can just, thank them for the conversation, or like, have a beautiful night. I had a great time with you, or maybe I'll see you later, and do a little bow. And yeah, it was like a revelation. It's like, oh. and
Right?
then the response of some men to say, when I said like thank you, have a good night, or no thank you, I don't want to continue, of them saying thank you for honoring your own boundaries. I was like, oh my God. And I just want women to know that this is out there, that men like this are out there, because they're everywhere in my world. Like, I'm just like so grateful and like bowing down and want to worship you, because it's so profound for my entire being.
That trust is one of the most wonderful feelings in the world, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
just to be honored in that way.
Yeah, and I had to make sorry. I had to make that choice, and I have to make that choice anytime that fear part of me gets activated. I have to make that choice to trust, and the trust can really come when I speak my truth from a place of, this is how I feel and this is what I need, not from judgment or shaming. Thank you, love.
Such a pleasure.
Is there anything else you'd like to share?
There's something here there on the tip of my tongue around around receiving a woman exactly as she is for the men. Like, to cultivate the capacity to celebrate whatever shows up. Celebrate it. Not just accept it, not just tolerate it, but like, celebrate it. Like, and to have a woman who can set a boundary, like, I just want to set context for every man who ever gets to have a boundary set for him ever again. Like, that is a fucking evolutionary feat. Like, we have all worked really hard, and that woman has done some work to be able to set a boundary and say what she does and doesn't want. And like, instead of like taking it personally as though it's something wrong with you, like, take it as an opportunity to celebrate. Like, take it as an opportunity to acknowledge this woman for knowing what she wants. And when you can do that, like, you become a trustworthy man. And whether you get what you think you might want in this moment from this person, like, you're literally opening the legs of the universe a little wider for everyone. So we got this, guys. Let's work together on this. And I promise, like, everybody's getting more of what they want. Oh, fuck. I just wish it would just be a whole nother podcast to describe if possible.
Let's all work together to open the legs of the universe.
Yes.
The universe.
Ah, yes.
With respect and honoring and celebration.
With wonder and reverence and awe.
Ugh. Ugh.
Yeah.
I'm so turned on right now.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for your heart. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for your desire.
Mm.
Thank you for your honoring, your love.
You're so welcome. Thank you for your beauty. Thank you for your courage. Thank you for your truth and your boundaries. And for your desire.
See you soon.
Mm.